the Spurs playing out?
OKC, they have talent. What they lack, to me, is focus.
For 4 quarters.
Yeah, they don't focus the entire game. They have lulls in their play. Like, they can look great for 5-6 minute stretches, and then they just fall apart. Turnovers, dumb plays, not playing cohesively. One thing the Spurs are going to do, they're going to play together. They're not going to beat themselves. So it's going to be a pretty interesting series. I'm not giving any predictions right now. Because some of the first round games are still going on. So when the second round officially starts, we'll get into that.
Come on, Jaffe, make your prediction, Jaffe.
Not yet. We got to see. I have to, give myself some time to weigh in all the variables, and then I'll make my educated guess, because it's not a prediction. It's an educated guess. I can't predict anything. The weatherman can't predict the weather. It's an educated guess based on, scientific variables. So that's what King Jaffe does. See, I just flipped it on you?
You ain't real.
Hey, I got bows. All
right, we can move on to the Eastern Conference, man.
Go ahead and ask me. Go ahead and ask me.
I'm not going to ask you about that. What I'm going to ask you about is possibly the most exciting series in the NBA playoffs right now, and that's going down between the Miami Heat and your Charlotte Hornets. I call them your Charlotte Hornets.
Now, the Miami Heat, I had them challenging LeBron and the Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference, and they still may do that. But I knew that I watched every Charlotte Hornets game they played this season, and I knew that Charlotte can play.
You're a fan?
No, because I live in North Carolina, and the Charlotte Hornets have a network here, and every game comes on that network, and I cover sports.
Man,
I watch sports.
Listen, I know you like Jordan.
I'm an avid watcher of all
Jordan.
things athletic. So I watch sports, I cover sports, so I watched every game. Just like I'm not a UNC Tar Heel fan, but I watched every game. So I digress.
Daimeon, the last time I was in Durham, you were wearing a Jeremy Lin jersey.
Whatever. I was not wearing a Jeremy Lin jersey.
You had your hand in a ponytail.
I have two NBA jerseys that I've owned 3 NBA jerseys in my entire life. The first NBA jersey that I ever owned was a Bobby Hurley Sacramento Kings jersey.
Yeah, I remember that. I wore that to school one day. You probably didn't know.
That's the first jersey I ever owned. Second jersey I've ever bought was a Baron Davis Charlotte Hornets jersey. I still got that jersey.
Yeah. It's
faded. You can't see the number. You can't see the name.
It's in his closet right now.
But I had a Baron Davis Charlotte Hornets jersey. And then the third jersey I've ever owned was a authentic. I wanted it so bad I was in New York. Authentic Latrell Sprewell New York Knicks jersey.
It was all that. I mean, the stitched on numbers and letters and whatnot, man. It was a very nice jersey.
Yeah, and I have never owned a Jeremy Lin jersey, but Jeremy Lin, I've been saying it all year. I'm like, man, Jeremy Lin is balling, man. Like, I didn't think he was that good until this season, but he is balling, bruh. It's crazy.
I don't know what it was from game 2 to game 3, but it's like the Miami Heat have turned into a completely opposite team from what they were in the earlier part of the series. They can't seem to find Hassan Whiteside like they were before. It seems like Dwayne Wade may be running out of gas. Like he's Kobe at this stage in his career. He still has the ability to do it, but the stamina just isn't there like it used to be. They can't find that lineup that it has been so effective for him before. Luol Deng has been pretty consistent over the playoff series. He's the bright spot for him these past 3 games. But when you look at the other side of the floor, when you look at what Kemba Walker is doing, Jeremy Lin is doing, and the entire Hornets organization, man, Nick Batum, who again is supposed to be running with the Blazers right now. The Blazers could be so much better if they would have that same lineup with Batum and with LaMarcus Aldridge, but that's neither here or there. The Charlotte Hornets are playing great basketball right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if this series went to 7 games, but the Charlotte Hornets, have a chance now returning to Charlotte to put this series away in 6.
In this series, Pierre, I think what happened was the first 2 games, Miami was in fuego. They were on fire. They were hitting everything. I mean, they scored like over 110 points both games. And Steve Clifford, you know, to his credit, he didn't make drastic changes. He thought that they would cool down, they being the Miami Heat, and they have cooled down. They haven't been knocking down all those 3-pointers and all those open shots like they were before. They've come back down to earth. Charlotte has done what they've done all year. They've hit the 3 ball. They played great defense, and they're back in the game. They're up 3-2 after winning that game in Miami. First playoff road win for the Hornets in 14 years. They have a chance to close out the Heat in Charlotte, man, in uptown Charlotte. I mean, what more can you ask for if you're Michael Jordan, if you're Steve Clifford, you know, the Charlotte Hornets, a closeout game in Charlotte, you can't ask for anything more. Now, Pierre, moving on to another first-round matchup in the Eastern Conference. I told you, man, before the playoffs started, I did not trust the Toronto Raptors, man.
Yeah,
now, I don't care that they're up 3-2. I don't care. I don't trust them, man, because I go off of what I've seen, and the only thing I've seen out of Toronto Raptors in the playoffs is losing. So until you prove me otherwise, I can't trust you. And they haven't even played great in this first round against the Indiana Pacers. They haven't played great.
The Pacers are just not a very good team.
I think if the Toronto Raptors had played the Detroit Pistons, that Detroit would have swept Toronto.
I don't know about sweet, but
Toronto's not playing good. I mean, Toronto, they need to focus. They need to stop running through the 6 with their woes. They need to focus on basketball.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that their 2 stars, Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, you know, they're good players. They're good basketball players.
They're all-stars. They're not playing like all-stars.
They aren't consistently at that level to where you need to be a superstar, and they're not that level of consistency to win championships. And I've said this last year, I've said it the year before last, but to me, the Toronto Raptors are just not a good playoff team, and they could prove me wrong. They could, you know, make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe even beyond. But I just have to go off of what I've seen in the past. You know, if I lend you $20 and you don't pay me back, the next time you ask for $20, you're going to be standing there with your hand out. The Toronto Raptors have shown me in the past that they can't handle the big stage.
Toronto Raptors, one of the most acute cases I've ever seen. ELBS, extreme lemon booty syndrome. They get so butt tight when the playoffs come. It's ridiculous. I don't trust the Raptors. They need to stop running through the 6 with their woes and play basketball. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe if they can get past this first round matchup, that'll give them some confidence and they can play a little bit better moving forward. I thought that was the case, not to make a apples and oranges reference, but I thought that was the case with the Arizona Cardinals and this year's NFL playoffs. Once they got past that first round and they went to the NFC Championship game, then they would get the butterflies out. But it only got worse for the Cardinals. Not sure if that will be the case with the Toronto Raptors, but, you know, maybe if they can get that first round win under their belt, then, you know, all the history's behind them. They're playing with the clean slate. You know, they're playing a little more loose, and they can go from there. They are the 2nd seed, and they will have home court advantage in the next round, so that can help as well.
This is true. Again, I don't trust you, man. I don't trust you, Toronto. I don't trust you, so I'm moving on. One of the other Eastern Conference first round playoff series is a slugfest. The Atlanta Hawks and the Boston Celtics, man, they're going back and forth. My favorite little guy in the NBA, Isaiah Thomas, you know, and the Celtics, they're giving, you know, Atlanta everything they can handle, man. Jeff Teague, Paul Millsap, and crew, they're going back and forth. Their series is probably going to go 7 games, you know, and they, you know, it is what it is. That's a pretty evenly matched first round series, you know, so I can't really give you a prediction on that series. I guess if you're a Boston fan, you're pulling for Boston. If you're an ATL fan, you're pulling for ATL. But me just watching the games, I never know who's going to win. Whoever, because Atlanta has had huge leads. Boston has come back, and won games. Boston has, completely dominated Atlanta sometimes. Sometimes Atlanta has completely dominated Boston. So it's a toss-up in that series. You don't know at this point.
It just seems like the home team comes out and plays at a very high level in every game in that series. First two games, Atlanta looked like an impenetrable defense. Like Boston couldn't do anything. You go to the Garden, and then it looks like the Boston Celtics can't be stopped. You come back to Atlanta for Game 5, and it's a different story. A little tighter game, but Isaiah Thomas can't do what he does usually night in and night out. I mean, he had been averaging just under 29 points in the series before the last game, and then he goes out the next game and, he's struggling. He rolls his ankle, things along those lines. So it just seems like the home team has the advantage. Now, that being said, the Atlanta Hawks do have the home court advantage in this series, so I lean towards them.
Pierre, I think we need to give our sponsors some time, man. Play a couple commercials, catch our breath, man, because these playoffs, again, the NBA playoffs have been crazy, and, we just spent a lot of time on that. Now, this show, Pierre, crazy. Outstanding show. It's like one of the best shows. It's going to be huge. Believe me, it's going to be huge.
like you said before, man, we had the chance to catch up with USC wide receiver or former University of South Carolina wide receiver Pharoh Cooper earlier in the week. Recorded that interview. Going to play that when we come back from this break. This is the All Things Sport Podcast on Spreaker Radio.
The All Things Sport Podcast, your source for a plethora of sports content.
For real? How much those scores? Because my man just bought a Miata.
Every Friday at 10 a.m. on Spreaker Radio.
The Capital City Qs present the Seersucker Soiree. Join the brothers of the Chi Iota chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated with Columbia's premier indoor-outdoor event. Featuring an outdoor concert with a live band and DJ. Food vendors will be available on site. Fellas, bring out your best seersucker fits. And ladies, make sure you're dressed to kill for the Metro's flyest groove for the grown and sexy. Saturday, May 14th at the Terrace of Adventure, 211 Gervais Street, Columbia. This event is sure to sell out. So to purchase your tickets, contact 803-361-6788 or visit CapitalCityQs.com. That's CapitalCityQs.com. We'll see you there. We're back with more of the All Things Sport Podcast with Daimeon Banks and Pierre Banks on Spreaker Radio. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Welcome back to the All Things Sport Podcast. I'm Daimeon Banks. He's Pierre Banks. This is ATS. You love us. We love you. You listen. You can go to banksboy.com, download all the podcasts, download all the YouTube channel information in my humble. Rudy Mondragon, salute to you, my friend. Get that PhD, man. We're behind you 100%. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sports by Daimeon. Follow Pierre on Instagram and Twitter _my_humble. Now we're switching gears because it's that time of year. The playoffs is Poppington. The NHL playoffs are out of freaking control right now, man.
I told you. I tried to tell you last week, man.
The Blackhawks and the Kings, they're gone fishing. Get them out of here. They're gone. So the playoff matchup that I'm looking forward to is the Penguins and the Caps, man. You got Sid the Kid and Alex the Great. I know you watch hockey religiously. You have to be excited about this.
Yeah, and for fans that don't really watch hockey as much, it's kind of like watching Kobe 5 years ago against LeBron 5 years ago. When you look at Sid the Kid and Alexander Ovechkin, these are two guys who put everything they have on the ice every night they go out there. These are the top two in their sport. These are the top 2 guys in the world right now. And we are fortunate enough to be able to watch them for potentially 7 games. Now, usually the Penguins are the heavy favorite in this series because they generally have a better team. But this season is the Capital season. I'm calling it right now. This is the Capital season. And this is the year that if they're going to move past the Penguins, they're going to have to do it right now. Everything is in place. The chips are lined up for them. And if they can move past them and